Hello, everyone. Just wanted to come on real quick and share a word I feel like the Lord wants me to share on, and it's about asking God for wisdom. And I know we all want wisdom. We need it in our marriages. We need it. We need it in raising our children, our grandchildren, and we need it in our relationships. We need it with our finances, our businesses, ministry. Every area of our life, we need wisdom. And been meditating on where in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 13 through 18, it talks about two kinds of wisdom. And it says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show it by his good life, by deeds done in humility that come from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and of the devil. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace raise a harvest of righteousness." And as I was reading this, of course, we want a harvest of righteousness in all these areas I just mentioned. Now, we've been camping for a good 9 months at least, off and on. And Joe and I have been having a lot of time together and under some pretty strenuous and stressful situations, setting up camp and, of course, living in the conditions, we're in, which we're enjoying it very much, but it does put a little strain and hardship on your flesh, on your carnal man. And I keep noticing strife coming in our relationship, like coming in our dealings with each other, especially on my part. That's who I have to take care of. I can't change and take care of Joe, but I can deal with what's in my heart. And I remember one time someone did an illustration of a jar full of lemon drop candies in it. And I love sour things and stuff, but yeah, those can pucker you up. They're pretty sour. And but they said, that if they dropped that jar on the floor, what would come out of that jar was those sour lemon drops. There's no way you could make sweet candy come out of that jar. And so it's a good illustration to show that when we're pressed by circumstances, hardship, difficult situations, trying trials and tribulations, when we're pressed by those, what comes out is really what's inside of us. And that always hits me, because I've been walking with the Lord for a long time and longing to be completely surrendered to Him and to be crucified, to myself, and to allow Christ to live in me. And when I see those sourness, bitterness, strife coming out of me, it frustrates me, because it shows me it's still there. So I go to the Lord and I ask Him, okay, what is this? How can we deal with this? This person is just being an instrument, their ways, or what they said, or their provocation. It's just touching something that's on the inside of me. If it wasn't there, it wouldn't happen. So I go to the Lord and I ask him to show me, the root causes in my heart that's causing these actions or these attitudes or harsh words or strife, division. And so one of the first things he showed me was pride. And I've been dealing with crushing pride in my life, ever since long time ago, many years ago. I remember a dear brother that's a very godly man and loves me a lot. He one time told me that my problem was pride. And I thought he was talking about being that type of, person who is snobby and acts richer than everybody else, or, like that. And I've never been that way. I've always been the kind of person that loves, poor people more than rich people. I've always had almost a negative feeling towards the rich people, and always a heart for the poor. And so I was like, no, I'm not proud at all. But since I trusted this brother, I asked him, well, I didn't ask him, I asked God, when I got alone with the Lord. And I said, okay, he's seeing something that I'm not seeing, so would you show me what he's seeing? And God at that time showed me that I had spiritual pride, self-righteousness and spiritual pride. And so, of course, let the Lord deal with that in my life. And so I've been very attentive to any time that pride raises its head up in my life. I try to, step on it, cast it down again and again. And it's amazing that after so many years, when I go to the Lord again and again about why I'm acting the way I'm acting, he shows me again it's pride. And then the other day, he actually showed me about envy in my life. I deal a lot with my issues between Joe and I, because I believe it's the people that are the closest to you, the ones you're rubbing elbows with, are the ones who are going to touch you in the deepest ways and affect you. It's easy for us to be patient and kind and long-suffering and considerate with others who just do it here and there, when you come in contact with them, sporadically. But with your loved ones that you live with, and Joe and I, we've been with each other. We're going on, I think this year will be 40 years, our anniversary this year in August. And we've been in ministry together for most of that time. And so it's kind of like always together, 24/7. So he's the one that can be a sandpaper under my skin. And so I've been working on a lot of things, but like, we know we're not finished yet. God is still working in us, and he promised to complete that good work he's begun in our lives. So I ask God for this godly wisdom, heavenly wisdom. And so what I was seeing here in his word is, it says that if we're wise and understanding, we're going to show it by the good life we live. And deeds done in humility. There it is, humility. And not deeds done in pride. And I have a lot of deeds that I still do in pride. And we need that humility from the Lord, where we cast down pride. And so also we consider, the harboring bitter envy. It's interesting. It's bitter envy. And that's interesting to me. So here we are with part 2. I was recording, Joe called, FaceTime, to check. He's at the grocery store, and he was checking to see if he was getting the right product. But as I was talking about the bitter envy, and so envy, a lot of these things, I think I have taken care of, that they're out of my life. But then as I was seeing where it talks about that with bitter envy also comes strife and division, so I was like, okay, so when I'm having strife with Joe and division comes up, there must be bitter envy inside of me. So I was like, okay, Lord, search me, show me, shine your light, and show me about that. And sure enough, there it was, envy, all hidden in there. And so I started thinking about it, and saw that I envy Joe. Didn't think I did, but I envy. When I get upset with him, I'm actually envying him. Because, see, Joe, he was an only child, born to parents already a little older. They couldn't have children. And when they finally had him, I take it they were pretty excited about him and celebrated him very much. And he seemed to be very celebrated and very focused on, and the little king of the castle. And he wasn't spoiled in regards to like discipline behavior, but spoiled in the sense of like a lot was his way because he was the only child. He didn't have to share with brothers and sisters. He didn't have to compete, for attention and position and all that kind of stuff. So he has his wonderful things that come from that, but then he has the little negative things that come from that. And I, on the other hand, was born to a missionary family who had 11 children, even though when I was born, one had already passed away. And so I was the youngest of 10. And I don't know, I would take it, I wasn't much of a specialty because, here you are, the 10th, to a tired mother, very busy already, and so I don't figure I was very, celebrated. I was probably more of an extra chore, more work, and my siblings probably felt that way about me too. And then being at the bottom of what they call the pecking order, as the youngest, you don't have much of a say. Your opinion doesn't matter, and because you're always the baby, you're the youngest, you know nothing. And so I figured that's probably what I'm dealing with, those things. And then so I taken on that, probably those hurts inside my heart of injustices, and a lot of good things come from being the youngest, but then there's always, and that's any position we're born in, some negative things come from it too. So that's what I was dealing with, especially this morning. Joe and I were dealing with silly little things can stir these things up. He had just put his bag of, he eats a lot of nuts, and he put his bags of his nuts on top of my little table, my little TV table, where all my Bible and books are, where we were having reading and stuff. And of course he's thinking, she'll just grab it and put it over on the other side where we put our nuts and stuff. But when I see it, it stirs me, kind of like, why don't you keep it on your table? Why you got to put it on my table? And little things like that, and it's like so silly, such silly little things, but those things are stirring things that are still inside of me. So I talked to him and I explained to him. I didn't get angry. I told him, okay, and because we were clearly looking in the mirror of the Bible, and so it was hard to not perceive what was going on at that time. And we we talked and peaceably about it. I explained to him how I guess what it was stirring inside of me, and I knew he wasn't intending to stir that inside of me or say that to me, because I guess it makes me feel like I don't matter. He matters. He's the king of the castle. He grew up as the king of his little home, and I didn't. And so there's that envy. And it's like, why do you get to have the best spot? Why do you get to be comfortable? Why do you get to sit there while I'm up doing something? And and stuff like that. And so it's like, okay. And then so quickly I could turn to say, okay, I'll just use your behavior to produce in me good stuff, the patience, the perseverance, but then there again you go again, and it's like, no, that's just focusing on myself again, selfishness. And even for towards godliness or good things, we can become selfish and stuff. And so here we go again. Joe's calling again. So we're back, part 3. I don't know how many parts this is going to end up having, but we're going to be persistent, because I really feel the Lord has been asking me to do these, and I always get busy doing other things. And I told him I would be obedient and I would do what he's telling me to do. So here we go. So where was I? I was talking about I think what we did this morning really was the right way, because I didn't just be quiet and take it and work the issue out in my heart, but I opened up to him and I expressed to him, the things that he was doing that was stirring me, and not in an angry way or critical way. And I told him I knew he wasn't intending to do it that way, but that maybe there was things that he might want to work on his life, in regards to those things, because whoever knows Joe knows that he is pretty particular, about having things organized and all his little stuff, in its place, and clean and all that kind of stuff, and I was the opposite. I grew up on the mission field, and we never had things perfect setting where things could be organized or clean, or it was always do what you can, do the best with what you can, make do. And so we're so opposites, and God is so wise in putting two opposites together, because we get a lot of sparks sometimes, but that's like the word says, iron sharpens iron. And that's what God wants to do with our lives. He doesn't want to leave us the way we are. He wants to perfect us. He wants to sharpen us. And so I told him, I said, I guess I'm envying you, and so I dealt with it. I dealt with it with him in prayer. I cast down that envy in my life towards you. And so I don't know, the being here in this setting of a lot of quietness and not too much, distractions. Okay, there, got low power thing telling me my power's low, but the Lord's been able to fine tune some things in us, and I'm glad. I'm glad, because to me it's not about a destination, like something we're wanting, or we feel like God brought us here because he wants to give us something here. We're believing for a debt-free house here, but it's not about that. It's whether we get that or not. It's the journey with the Lord. It's what we're learning on the way that's important, and it's been very gratifying to experience the stillness, the quietness, and let God go deeper into our hearts and show us what's still under the surface that he wants to work on and cleanse in us. And so, so God told us to ask for the heavenly wisdom, The heavenly wisdom, I think is so neat. It's pure. It's I think it was in was it James 1? I'm not sure where it was. Yeah, it says if in James 1:5. Nope, I'm not sure if that's the position. I was reading several places, but it was where it says it's pure. Or did we read it here in 3? That it's pure. It's not full of, yeah, here 3:17. The wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. So that means pure. I thought about what pure is. It means there's no ulterior motive. There's no selfishness. There's no manipulation, trying to control the person and stuff. So it's pure. And it's peace-loving. It loves peace. And, I came across a thing that explained the difference between being a what was it? A peacekeeper and a peacemaker. And, sometimes we think that just being passive and giving in and being quiet is keeping the peace. But it's not a true peace. True peace is when there's righteousness and justice for all. See, we think if we just take the bad part to ourselves and we swallow it, we stay quiet, we're keeping peace. We're not called to be peacekeepers. We're called to be peacemakers. And true peace is when it comes from being whole, being complete, being righteous, justice. And so sometimes you have to fight. You have to confront and tell truth to bring about that righteousness, that wholeness for both, so that none is taken the injustice. So peace-loving, considerate, always being considerate, putting yourself in the other person's place to see what they're feeling, thinking, and going through. Submissive. That's a hard one, to submit to each other. It's amazing how much we stiffen up and resist, submitting to each other. Full of mercy. Mercy means not giving the bad that the person deserves, And good fruit, the good fruit of love. Impartial. That's interesting. So see, that means it's not going to benefit one more than the other. It's impartial. And it's sincere. And another translation says without hypocrisy. And that's sometimes we give other people some words of wisdom that we don't take for ourselves. We're being hypocrites, like when Jesus said, how can you take out a speck from your brother's eyes when you have a big old log in your own eye? And so sometimes we think we're dealing in wisdom, but there's hypocrisy there. We're not taking care of the log in our eye before we deal with the speck in our brother's eye. So so that's what I wanted to share today about heavenly wisdom, which I believe we all want, versus earthly, devilish wisdom, which is what a lot of times we are operating in when we think we're being pretty smart and getting away with it, but we're not. It's doing damage. It's bringing about death to our relationships, death to our walk with the Lord, death to every area, in which we're dealing with. So I want to encourage everyone. That's the great thing that I think I was reading in James chapter 1. It says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask God. And then we learn wisdom from God. So God bless you, and I hope these minister to somebody, because this is something I've been fighting for a long time. I have not been wanting to do this. People who know me know that I have not wanted to be out there, put out there to others in this way. So thank y'all, If y'all listen to this, God bless y'all.